Thanks for joining us, guys, and welcome to the Power Platform in real life. Play the drums because today we're creating the build pipeline. It will export the solutions and data from our dev environment and store those in the source control. This is where the fun begins. Now that we covered all the dependencies since part 1 video, we're ready to create our build pipeline to export from our dev environment the managed solutions as an artifact, unmanaged solutions to the repository, and data to the repository. We'll import a repository from GitHub and take a look at one build pipeline already created, and then we'll check step by step. Sounds good? It contains the exact same 3 folders we discussed in our last video, but it also included 2 subfolders under Dataverse data. We'll talk about these folders soon. If we expand the pipeline folder, we can see multiple YAML files. These are the files for our pipelines. Of course, we could create them from scratch, but that would make our video too long and boring. If we were to start creating a build pipeline from scratch, we would go to Pipelines and click Create Pipeline. In this scenario, we were using Azure repositories for our code. Select which repository the pipeline YAML code will be stored, and then choose Starter Pipeline. But instead of a new pipeline, we'll choose an existing one and select the build pipeline YAML file. Not exactly sure why, but in order to change the label displaying in the pipeline, you have to go to Triggers and change the label in the top. Anyways, let's run this thing and see it in action first. Then we can check the details. On the top, you have the branching where the pipeline code is. In our case, it's develop. The first question is, should we export solution? If yes, then it will need to know what solutions. If no, it will not export any. If we wanted to run from multiple solutions, it's just a matter of choosing which ones here, and it will loop through each one of them. Note that the solution names you see here are the exact same ones that we have in the environment. If you create solutions in the environment that have a different name, we gotta update the YAML pipeline. But for now, let's choose just the core and run it. We'll take a look at the data export right after it, so let's keep it unchecked for now. These boxes are the stages of the pipeline. You can click on it to see more details about the run. You can see right here the steps of the pipeline going green. There is a security step that we need to do here, and because of that, we got this error. But it's nice that we got it over here. This one. You need git generic contribute permission. So how do we do that? You go to Project Settings, Repositories, choose the repository you're working with, Security, and then under the Build Service User, make sure to allow contribute to pull request, and create a branch. That's awesome. So now let's run the pipeline again. Nice! Our stage to export unmanaged solution and commit to the repository is finished. Now the other stages are gonna run. Keep in mind that they are asynchronous. Looks like our stage to create the pull request to the develop branch is completed. And now our stage to export the managed solutions as an artifact is also completed. Let's have a look on the results. This is the run of the pipeline. As you can see, all 3 stages were completed successfully. We can also see there is one artifact published as part of the pipeline run. The artifact is a drop folder where it contains our core managed solution. We're gonna come back to it when we're talking about the release pipeline. Now let's take a quick look in our repository. If we go to the develop branch, oops, there is nothing in the develop branch. Why is that? That's because the build pipeline actually created an export branch and then a PR to merge the changes to develop. How can we see that? We can move to the export branch. The name of the export branch will be solution export underscore build ID 103. This 103 is what's called a predefined variable. This is the build ID number that we talked on video 1. Which is a predefined variable for every pipeline run that we're using on the name of the branch. We're gonna get into more details into this pretty soon. But if I open this branch, there you go. Our core solution was extracted right there. And if you guys remember, the only thing we did that was a change in the account entity where we included a field. There is one more thing the pipeline did. We can see a pull request from the solution export build 103 to develop. You can go to files to see the changes as any other Git. Let's complete the pull request. Now let's take a look at the repository again. Yes! We got our core solution there now. From here, when we want, we can create a pull request from develop to release. Let's complete the merge again. Nice! We just merged the code from develop to release. Let's now get to the secret sauce and see how this thing works. First things first, if you've never seen this before, this is a YAML code. Please don't freak out. It's meant to be human readable. So although it may sound complex, it's actually quite simple to catch up. You will see when we go through it. There is no silver bullet that works for all the scenarios, and neither this is supposed to be a perfect solution. But if it helps with your project, please be very free to use it. We're glad to help. The only thing that we kindly ask is to keep reference to its author. Much appreciated. Talking about keeping reference to its author, let's do that here too. This pipeline uses the Power DevOps tools, which was developed by Wael Hemsey. Wael is the man when it comes to DevOps tools for Dynamics 365. His contributions to the community can't go unnoticed. Wael, you deserve a raise. So before we run the pipeline, let's just make sure we install the tool. You can read the high-level steps in the build pipeline, and once it's working well for your scenario, here's a few tips to go one step further and make it run automatically on a given schedule. When the build pipeline triggers, it will ask the questions, aka parameters. Do you want to export solutions? If yes, we select the solutions. Do you want to export data? If yes, we select the data schema file. We haven't seen the data yet running, but the code is pretty much already here. Trigger none just means we're going to run this manually. Under variables, we're loading the build pipeline variables from the common variable group and the dev variable group. Make sure you check the video about variable groups. For pool, we're using Windows latest. Here we're giving the pipeline run a name using some predefined variables. Every time an Azure pipeline runs, it will contain predefined variables that can be used in your run. If you're curious to see what all predefined variables are, you can bing Azure Pipeline's predefined variables, and that will show a list of all of them and their purpose. A pipeline can be segmented into stages. In YAML, you will notice that indentation makes it very easy to read, and actually, they're a must. Without it, it breaks. So you can see that the very first thing inside the stages is an if syntax. It checks if the export solution parameter is set to true. And if yes, it will run all the jobs and steps that are under its indentation. And then inside of a job, there is a loop for each solution name and the parameter solution to export. In our demo, we chose only core. If we have selected multiple solutions, it would loop on every single one and do everything that we saw. Now underneath the loop, there is a template. What the hell is that? That's another file. Here you have an example of a YAML file calling another, and it's inside of the templates folder. For every solution selected, it will run this template file. We're going to go a little bit fast through the code here, but please take your time, pause the video, and take a look at the code with a better look yourself. When the template gets called, the very first thing it needs is a solution name as its parameter. Then it will install the Power DevOps tools, run a PowerShell script to show the solution name in a step label. Then it will get the current solution version, calculate the new version of the solution, publish all customizations. At the moment it's commented out, but we're gonna remove the comments later. Set the solution with a newer version using the build ID, export as unmanaged, extract the zip file of the unmanaged exported solution, check out the solution export branch with the build ID, and commit the extracted unmanaged solution to that branch. That's it. Coming back to our build pipeline. That's about it for the export unmanaged stage. Now there are two other stages that it will run under the export solution condition. One is export managed artifact, which will install the Power DevOps tool again, export the solution as managed, and publish as an artifact. And then there is another stage that's going to create the pull request to the develop branch. And that's it. This is the code that does what we've seen today. Next video, we'll take a look at the data export piece. See you there.